The problem with the impeachment hearings with regards to Donald Trump, the President of the United States, or this lighting is a little weird. I have some sun coming in from the window, so it'd be good to get outside for a bike ride later. But I digress. The problem with the impeachment of Donald Trump is, well, there's a number of them. First off, it's very interesting what it took for him to be impeached. Basically, that he was supposedly going after another member of the powerful establishment, that being Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden, trying to maybe get some dirt on them, one or both of them that could be used, to help Trump win re-election to the presidency. And he could have been impeached a long time ago, let's say for violations under the Emoluments Clause, how he is enriching himself through the presidency, let's say by having all of these hotels and business interests in lots of different countries that he has been benefiting from. Like, for example, when Mike Pence traveled to, I believe it was Ireland, Trump has a hotel there. Pence and his entourage stayed there, even though it was a completely opposite side of the country where Pence had to conduct government business. That's just one example. Trump's also benefited from Saudi businessmen and people from the Saudi government, I believe, as well, staying in his hotels in the, I think, Washington, D.C. area or somewhere else in the United States. So he could have been impeached on that, but it took him going after one of the established elites, again, that being Joe Biden and his son, to get anything to happen. Excuse me. Also, it should be pointed out what he was withholding was military aid, something that, nobody really can do because of the power of the military industrial complex that they have over our politicians and just our government and country and frankly the world in general. So Trump went after, or at least said he was going to hold back, the sacred cow that is military aid to Ukraine, which even I believe it was Obama wasn't going to. I could be mistaken. Let me know in the comments if that's true. But Obama wasn't even going to give this type of military aid to Ukraine because obviously, from Russia's perspective, countries border each other. That would be seen as a form of kind of aggression of us, enabling Ukraine to harness, further military powers and support from the U.S. Obviously, that would be like, let's say if Russia gave hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid and support to, let's say, Canada or Mexico. That would probably piss us off as the United States. So honestly, like what Trump did with the military aid was, it was already kind of promised to them. The funds had already been appropriated from our U.S. government to give that to them, but it probably shouldn't have been in the first place. But it's just very interesting that him holding up this military aid is what led to his impeachment. And obviously, it would be very, 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 very unlikely that he gets voted to impeached in the House, because a majority of Republicans control the Senate, and most, if not all of them, would not vote to impeach them. So again, it's going to be, as was with Russiagate, another political victory that Trump will be able to signal to his base that it was just another Democratic witch hunt. See, nothing came of it. They're just trying to, do whatever they can to get me out of power because I'm, doing all these things to make America great again, people in MAGA hats, things like that. So nothing's going to happen from the impeachment, and it's just very interesting that going after the Bidens, and military aid is what led to him being impeached, where if they're really concerned about the rule of law and the president breaking that he would have been impeached, a long time ago for high crimes or any of these other number of misdemeanors that he has committed while his time in the office of the presidency. And again, it just takes time away from the Democrats in the House or the Senate when the hearings do end up making its way there from, advocating issues and policies that will benefit the United States instead of just this kind of political theater that's going to do nothing but bolster Trump's claim that it was a political witch hunt, because again, nothing's going to happen from it because the Republicans control the Senate, and it's going to be very, 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 very unlikely that they would, a handful of them would have to, change sides and vote with the Democrats in the Senate, and that's just not going to happen. So it's very interesting, this whole impeachment thing, but nothing's going to happen from it, so it's just kind of a big waste of time. And additionally, another problem that it creates for a number of the Democrats running for president that are in the Senate, particularly Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders in particular, once the hearings do reach the Senate, they will have to come back to Washington, get off the campaign trail, and this will more than likely be right up into and before the very important Iowa caucus and New Hampshire primary, so which would give a big benefit to the more very conservative neoliberal candidates, in my opinion, i.e. Pete Buttigieg and former Vice President Joe Biden. So Bernie and Elizabeth Warren would have to be in Washington. I think the hearings are like 6 days a week. Again, taking them off the campaign trail before these very important Iowa caucus and New Hampshire primary states. So it would have the, added detrimental effect of impacting these two more progressive candidates, as well as the less progressive ones like Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar, as Kyle Kalinske refers to her as. So, so hopefully it doesn't mess up, especially Bernie, because he's the really only progressive in the race, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, especially with regards to foreign policy as well as domestic policy. So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the impeachment, the reasons behind it, if it's going to be effective or not, and anything of that nature. Peace.